Oh, you guys can't hear me yet.
All right, just so you know, we are live. Just making sure. Let's see. Okay, I see some gameplay going. Oh, I see some ads. All right, since we're looking live, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is show number 312, the place on Sunday nights to talk about all things Xbox related and a whole lot more. You guys know the drill. I'm Invader, and we've got a lot in store for you tonight. Hellblade 2 is finally released. We'll give you our thoughts and impressions and just overall review of that game. As well, rumors and leaks are swirling about certain stuff regarding the Xbox Showcase, namely a certain unannounced game from id Software. We'll go into that. Plus, hey, I'd love to squeeze in the Warhammer Skulls event. Some good stuff there. So, it's going to be a good one here for sure tonight. But first, let me introduce the crew tonight, starting off with Dots RTS. Dots, what's up, brother?
Not much. It's a good Sunday night. Almost a long weekend for most of us in the U.S. No, things are great. Just enjoying the fruits of the Warhammer Skulls sale on Steam. So things are going good at the moment. So yeah, no, looking forward to another fun Sunday night.
Cool. Next up, Crusader. Hey, man, taking some time to peel you away from Destiny. What's going on?
I actually have not played video games this week because I had to run a baccalaureate mass and a graduation ceremony for a local high school. So I had two 15-hour days this week. So yeah, this is I just basically was gaming yesterday and today, and otherwise stuff's good though.
All right, good stuff. Glad to hear you got some gaming in. Always good to be able to relax on the weekends, and long weekend. Happy long weekend to my American brothers and sisters out there. As Canadians, we just had it last weekend, the Victoria Day long weekend, and now we got into this long weekend. So everybody gets to relax. Everybody gets to relax now. Moving on, General MLD, the general in the house. How you doing, MLD?
Hey, doing pretty good here. Good week in gaming. Almost done Persona 3, but I was able to pry myself away to finish Hellblade 2, which I'm pretty excited to talk about today.
Believe me, me too. I can't wait to get into that, as I'm sure a few others are. Moving on, we got Eric Shockley in the house. Shockley, brother, how you been?
Oh, pretty good. I did get, I think, about an hour and a half into Hellblade. That game looks sick. It is definitely probably the best visually, visual. Probably, or why am I butchering this? Probably the most high definition, or not high definition, visual spectacle that we've yet to see. But which makes sense because I don't know if there's another Unreal Engine 5 other than the one big tech demo, or I guess the Matrix thing.
Been
I
quite
guess
a
that
few.
technically is, yeah.
There's been quite a few released at this point. This is just the first one that's using the full suite.
Oh, okay. But yeah, other than the Matrix, tech demo everybody was messing with, this has definitely been the closest thing to it, in my opinion, for the hour or so I've met with it. So was digging the combat. I heard people did say it was kind of simple compared to the last one. That's not what I was really getting. It just kind of is different, or more
it's almost
brutal,
exactly the same with different animations.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was more intense, whereas before they just kind of threw a bunch of people at you once that died real easy in the first one, from what I remember. But no, been having fun with that and jumping back into almost finishing Resident Evil 4 remake, so digging the rest of that. And hopefully we get some good stuff here soon in the coming weeks, or some reveals. So, but ready to get into the topics.
Of course, of course. And yeah, guys, we're going to get into things very soon. Just a very quick reminder to hit the like button and share out the show, as I would love to have more audience members with us tonight, so be able to grow the show. But yeah, you know what? I will not delay and yeah, waste no time into getting into the topics. All right, guys, let's get into talking about Hellblade 2. Ninja Theory's hotly anticipated sequel has finally released. It's been talked about quite a bit for a variety of reasons, garnering, I would say, mostly praise, at least from what I've seen. Definitely doing well in the meta overall. And I know the meta isn't everything, but it's just interesting when you see it come up, and it seems to be doing pretty well, reviewing pretty well. I know a few of the guys on the panel have been playing it the past week, including myself. I'll admit I haven't beat it yet, but I would say I'm about 75% judging from all the collectibles and so on. However, General MLD, why don't you kick us off on this one? After spending time with Hellblade 2, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to go over here. I beat the game a couple days ago, really enjoyed myself. If you honestly liked Hellblade 1, basically expect more of the same with some differences that I'll get into. But overall, I was a big fan of Hellblade 1, and 2 is just more of that, which is exactly what I wanted. My playthrough clocked in at 8 hours. Now, I know a lot of people are saying 5 online as some kind of dig. This isn't the kind of game you're supposed to rush if you are playing it with good intentions. I feel like a lot of people are I feel like game guides post 5 hours because they are by nature not supposed to waste time. They're supposed to be efficient for the viewer watching them, as well as people like on social media just rushing through the game just so they can cash in on some cheap likes. There's a lot of collectibles, like audio collectibles in this game. So it requires you to go off the beaten path and find them. So that's exactly what I did. So if you do that, the game comes in at about 8 hours. So like I said, it's the same essence as the first game, but it's the graphics that make the biggest leap for obvious reasons. The photogrammetry, they were on site at Iceland, and it shows. The game is just gorgeous to look at. I mean, there were just some times where I just kind of took it slow where I was, just looked around myself, and there was sometimes there was like a vista. Just how beautiful Iceland looks. I hadn't really had no idea. I mean, I had some image in my head, but you really do see it like near photorealistic when playing this game, and that was pretty nice to see. It's just pure eye candy. But narratively, I find it's more of the same experience. You have the voices in your head, both neutral and negative, trying to egg you on or support you or make you depressed and give up. I love that about the first game. I hung on to their every word, and the second game is no exception. So the writing is another strong suit, in my opinion. The major differences between the two games, having beat them both, I would say the second one has more puzzle variety. The first one only had one type of puzzle where you had to look at something from a certain angle to progress onward. This one has, I think, 2, even 3 types of puzzle varieties, and it even mixes them together sometimes. So it's a nice change of pace compared to just the one type of puzzle in the first game. But another difference is that I found there was less combat. Like there are a certain amount of chapters in Hellblade, and combat, there tends to be a big combat sequence at the end of each chapter, whereas Hellblade 1 had multiple combat sequences throughout each level. So there is that. And also the enemies. In the first game, the enemies bosses, some of them were pretty big, whereas this game, everyone is basically the size of a regular human to a really large human. And I think that's because of the combat design choices, but I'll talk about that too. That wasn't a big thing for me. As long as the combat was fun, which it was, But that was just another difference to point out. But yeah, the combat though was the real high point for me. Ninja Theory, they made the right call doing 1v1 than the original's rather clunky multiple enemy approach onto you. And obviously, like the motion capture, extensive motion capture, it makes enemies and cinema move more believable, and it makes the combat feel a lot more immersive as a result. And despite what people say online, I did find that there was multiple enemy varieties. Some threw axes, some breathed fire. Yeah, there was definitely like at least 5 different types of enemies I found. Some like crawled on the ground, so you couldn't hack at them right away. Yeah, I don't want to spoil everything, but there were multiple enemy types, despite them all being roughly human. Now, it did require you to change your tactics, but because of the structure, you beat one guy, and another one just violently grabs you, and it might be a different enemy type, so you're required to change your tactics on the fly. And because of that, the combat was very tense compared to the original. I mean, the original was, but this just took it up a notch. I was on the edge of my seat, trying my best to stay alive in every engagement. The pairing is harder in the second game this time around, but it felt so much more satisfying when you landed it right. But because of that, pairing was harder. I had a lot of close encounters. Just I died a few times. Overall, combat felt brutal, messy, and just plain chaotic. And I can't stress that enough. I just wish they had more of it. But that said, there is a chapter select option for every time you beat a chapter, so you can actually reload into the fight sequence itself without any build up towards it. Like you go straight into it. So that is a nice touch if you liked a certain combat sequence. Now, all that said, I'm going to get more into the discourse online about this game. As someone who played both games, I really enjoyed them. Looking at everyone else, I now fully believe that there is an Xbox tax. I have seen content creators and review sites that previously gave the original game several years ago, 6-7 years ago, great scores, praised it to the heavens, but they somehow changed their tune in 2024 because what? It happens to be an Xbox exclusive. Because it is essentially the same game. There are differences, but really, it's more of the same. End of the day. So people doing these 180s, it just raised an eyebrow. It's very confusing. And how could you not believe in an Xbox tax, especially after comparing certain review sites and the vast disparity between both games' Metacritic scores? Sorry, their review scores. But at least overall, though, its 81 Metacritic is in the same range as the first. But based on hearing about it online with other people, you'd think the game was like Redfall in the 50s or 60s or something like that, which is just completely just wrong.
Showing up on the
Now, I mean, it's in the same Metacritic range as, say, Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2. Rise of Ronin was in the 70s, but these games get a pass, and it just feels like Hellblade 2 is just everyone's just magnifying the polarizing aspects and ignoring the positive things, because anything with an 80 plus on Metacritic does something right, and people are just ignoring that. And again, it's just very baffling to me. Like, the writing is great, the visuals are great, the combat is great, but no one's really talking about that. They're talking about the length or how it's a walking simulator. But again, they praised the same thing 6 years ago. So, okay, I don't want to drone too much about that part. But I have been seeing how sales are pretty low. I've seen that on Steam. And that is a shame, considering I feel like there's a few factors at play here. For one, the game never got a true marketing push. I mean, I'm seeing it on my Xbox home screen. I'm pretty sure it's on online websites, but no real true marketing pushes. And I feel like that didn't help get the game's word out there. Like, no console bundles, no major TV advertisements, and I feel like the game deserved that. But maybe some gamers are upset at Xbox for, they're still a little bit salty about porting their games over to PlayStation. Hey, I don't blame them, but that might be a factor. But also, it's a bad time because with all the studio closures recently, and PR and morale among the community is pretty low right now. So maybe the game's release was a little bit ill-timed. Maybe that was a factor. I don't. It's hard to explain because again, the game is exactly like the first, and the first didn't launch like this, like the second one is. So it's very curious, and and also I feel like a lot of people are just putting off this game in general. I know it's very niche, but again, what it does do very well. And it's like I'm playing the best kept secret at Xbox right now. It feels like a real underrated gem. And it's a game, but I would say it's more an experience, an audiovisual experience with the combat that people really have to give it a chance and stop listening to others online about it and just play it yourself and form your own opinion about it. That's my overall message to it. And yeah, I just think this game is the first of many games Xbox will make this year that will turn out great. Because end of the day, the sales engagement, that's not my problem to worry about. The Metacritic score is great. It is a quality game for what it is, and that is all we should really care about. And again, I just feel like with the June showcase, this is just the first of many. So that's it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I echo a lot of your sentiments, MLD. Again, I'm not finished it. I'm about, I would say, 3/4 through the game. I'm almost there. I mean, I've been enjoying it. Visually, the game is... There's just so much detail. I mean, I found myself just looking at, like, pebbles in the water and, like, just looking at everything. Like, the most minuscule things, I'm just like, whoa, this is very impressive. Very impressive. One of the best games I have ever seen. Now, judging, like, from what you've played and, like... I mean, again, I've been seeing a lot of people enjoy it for the most part. I mean, I have seen some people, rag on certain things. But do you think that this game, is just overall a net positive for Ninja Theory?
I think overall, I think it is. You can always get more engagement and users down the road with time, as the word gets out. But overall, though, I feel like they critically met expectations, and if they can transition to a smaller dev cycle kind of studio, I feel like Project Mara now, if they put all their efforts behind that, will come out next year now, no problem. And I feel like that's a more lower budget passion project that might have a better return on investment for the horror gaming crowd. And apparently, yeah, it was said that their next game was already green lit. So I feel like this was a good start for them. They did show their potential with what they can do with a better budget, because it is improved upon Hellblade 1 in almost every facet. So that much I do believe.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough.
Going forward, I feel like that they'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm. I hope so, because I do really enjoy their games, and I do find them to be a quality studio. And wow, like I'm just looking at some of the gameplay I have on screen. I'm just like still in awe of just like the landscape alone, the character models. Like I found myself just panning around the character model just so much, just seeing her expressions and whatnot, just very, very lifelike. It's like uncanny valley kind of stuff. I'll move over to a few other people on the panel, because I got to get everybody in on this. Eric Shockley, buddy, I can't remember if you said you played it. Did you get some time in with Hellblade?
Yeah, I did get in. I think I got in, I know I got past, the first boss, I guess you would say.
Oh, yeah.
That I think it's the first encounter you probably see on most people's feeds.
Mm-hmm.
And that was cool. I wasn't expecting that, because there were kind of, boss creatures, but I don't remember boss people. It's been a couple of years since I played the the first Hellblade, but that was cool. Kind of reminded me of kind of some of those slower intense like God of War battles. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So I did enjoy that. Took a second to just kind of understand some of this like pairing system, but you get the hang of it pretty early, especially with some of the early enemies it throws at you to kind of like get you ready for the for how their system works. But that was cool. And also just having that style of combat with, you know, being up that close, kind of like intense battle, but also like with it visually hitting all those boxes and kind of keeping up with it. I'm sure like the 30 frames is probably helping. I hear on PC it's bumped up even another notch visually if you have just like a decent PC. I hear, so definitely want to give that a try. But yeah, it's been a blast so far. But I hear you can even have more combat involvement, like throwing like spears and stuff like that. So I don't remember anything like that in the first game other than just like your sword. But so far it's been pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely a showpiece for the system. So they definitely, I think, nailed what they intended. Like visually when they showed it off, we were like, oh shit, this is going to be something new. But also when they showed off those first bits of gameplay where people were like, this is just a cutscene, but they came back and said, no, that's you playing, and people for the longest didn't believe that, like, no, that has to be all scripted. And you can tell it's not, and visually it's keeping up. So, and I think we talked about it a few weeks ago that they actually bumped up visually from some of those early showings. So I think they nailed what they intended. And I don't understand the people that criticize it of saying, well, it's been, and they kind of count the second Hellblade 1 released as the timeline of how long this game's been in development, which doesn't seem to be the case. So, but also they were one of the few studios that I don't think hired on a bunch more people. I think they
doubled their studio size.
Yeah, but relatively, or at least on this project, they were still staying small. Obviously, they were still doing Project Mara, and then they also had the small group that tried to do the passion project Bleeding Edge. But still, they were staying, as what they said, small. Obviously, they were and you can kind of tell that they're not going out there even trying to get $60. They're so it is a little bit lesser of a game in that situation. But they also kind of let us know early of like it's going to be more of like a AA game in the AAA, and this is kind of nailing exactly what they said. Like, sure, it's not this 30-hour game, The Last of Us or what have you, but it is like, in all intents and purposes, if you show this off to somebody, they'd be like, oh shit, that's a AAA. Like, they would think it's in comparison to any of those other titles, but it's not like something that's super bloated and padded, like, hey, go do this fetch quest, or hey, you have to do this and this, or turn on, like, I'm loving Final Fantasy Rebirth and even the remake, but there is a lot of padding where you were given all these other tasks, or hey, you should go chase this tower where you're spending, I'm not really doing anything. So when people were saying just, oh, you're pressing forward, I'm like, okay, I'm walking for a ton of my time in Final Fantasy. Sure, there's like deeper RPG systems to it, but I'm also, what am I doing there? Am I playing? No, I'm sitting there. I'm like, and if anything, there's flaws in games like that. Even though we want some of those RPG elements, some of those are still like kind of antiquated, like where they're just like, is there an easy way to move my materia or move my things that are shared between like 7 people in my party? No, I'm having to either like take them one by one out, and it's so, sure, some of those games do have like deeper systems, like as far as like stats, but for a lot of it, like, I'm just walking, and so it's there to get in and out, tell its story. But I think they're nailing a focused story. Whereas, kind of going back to the Final Fantasy remake, they kind of nailed that because there was so much of a focus when you get to that part of the story of getting out of it's the stupid city escapes me, but that part of the story is a very focused part of Final Fantasy VII, the original. But obviously, once you get out of it, there's like so much to do, and there is so much kind of bloat in that original game of just mini game stuff, which is cool back then because we didn't, you didn't have a lot to play, so you wanted to buy a game and you wanted it to last you a while because heck, you might not get another game, for what games were costing back then. So you wanted your game to last, have something to do. So, which makes sense. But I mean, these days, especially if you're older, you might not have a lot of time. So getting in and out with the story. I mean, hell, you play some of the Resident Evil games. Even if you played Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube, you could easily finish that game in 8 hours, even on the first try. So, I mean, so the length I don't think is an issue if it has a purpose. If it has like no story or no, real message or nothing that is actually doing to kind of like engage you and, just give you different perspectives, and then that's where, yeah, if that's a game's, focus of, hey, we're going to focus on this story in and out, and then it didn't land at all, and they even had it shortened to like, not something that's super bloated, but something that was very focused, 6, 7, 8 hour game, and they didn't nail that part, well then yeah, that would be a failure. But it doesn't obviously seem like it's like that. Obviously it's hitting about the same score as the first one, like MLD said, but overall I think they nailed it. But obviously everybody's expectation was kind of going because we all got kind of probably swept away with our imaginations when they first announced Ninja Theory on the stage back in 2018 of like, oh snap, now most of us were thinking, oh, you could take that and then they're gonna do God of War level, which I get it, that's a fair criticism if that's what you wanted and that's what you wanted them to push Ninja Theory to do. But maybe on the plus side, you'll get more projects out of them because obviously, between that and some of these other like Sony studios, like what was the last game from Naughty Dog? It was basically Last of Us. We don't even know when that new they canceled partway of the project they were already on. So like you might get more frequency of games through them. We probably won't be waiting 5 years for their Project Morrow that already started years ago, and they already got one greenlit. So maybe we'll get more projects from them that are kind of like Matt Booty was saying, kind of like something that can be done within. Obviously, they probably spent like 4 years of actual development because they developed right after that trailer. They were saying because at the time all they had was just that kind of concept trailer when they announced it back at the Game Awards. So it's only been literally just over 4 years and just a few months. So that's not bad given that they were dealing with a whole new engine. So and probably had to, and also working out a whole new mocap system and getting that and becoming experts at that. So I'm thinking their next projects are going to be more frequent and we're going to get more releases from them, more content, which is going to be good for Game Pass, although we'll probably touch on it later. Who knows if how much of an ecosystem we're going to have with decisions that might happen in coming weeks. Who knows? But yeah, until then, they need to keep content coming, especially if there's a potential increase in Game Pass and with obviously with potentially Call of Duty coming. So I think they at least nailed that part. And I do agree with MLD here as far as like some of the reviews, some of the ones that people did find of like the exact same person, because a lot of times you can find, oh, IGN gave this game this review, but it will be a completely different person that reviewed the sequel. So it's like, okay, that's that can happen. But some of them, they were actually finding the same people, and like they were having criticisms of stuff they had no issues with in their previous review. So some of that's kind of just weird. And like some people were, I think I saw somebody giving like a 40. Like at that point, a game's like broken. Like especially at least this game's not wasting your time of like, oh, I spent 20 hours and there's just all this padding and I'm can't even finish this game. At least it's getting in and out. You can finish it in a weekend, or heck, you could finish it in a evening. But potentially from what we've seen, people finish it in like 4 or 5 hours potentially. So if you want to just go through it real quick and turn and burn. So but I think they at least nailed what they were set to do, and I don't think I would want Microsoft telling them what to do. Otherwise you would have got something probably not as like polished of like story. Just think about them meddling in this type of game with psychosis and that it's dealing with. I wouldn't want them touching that. So but we'll see what the future holds with their studio and then their next project. So but I'll let somebody hopefully anybody else play it this week. I'll let somebody touch it. Get their piece.
No, of course, Shock. Thanks for that. I mean, one thing that I would say, I have been enjoying my time with Hellblade 2. I would say, though, that I haven't been as impressed with the puzzles. That would probably be my critique, my big critique going in. I found them very simple, very simplified. Maybe that was done on purpose.
People had an issue with them last time. I think that's why they...
Because
now you barely have to line it up, where like in that first one, some of them you were like, I know I've solved this, but you're like looking at it and you're just like slightly off of the camera and it's not registering that you've solved it, even though you have. Whereas this one, it's like, oh, okay, it's good enough. You basically lined it up. So, but yeah, I've only messed with, I think I've only encountered like that first puzzle where it had you like kind of like line up maybe a second one, but yeah, it seemed to be like I almost didn't even form it yet, and it was like, yeah, you got it. We're moving on.
Yeah,
but that's probably why, because people did have some issues because they were just walking around in the first one of like, I can't figure this out, and people got pissed. So I think they probably looked at that. But
I mean, personally, I was kind of hoping that they would do some kind of different style of puzzles, but yeah, they did make them a lot more simplified. Yeah, I guess we'll see in the coming days and weeks how more people respond to them. I'll be very curious, but yeah, I guess they took feedback from that. You're right, from the previous title. Let's see here. Dots, I'm curious. I can't remember. Have you gotten a chance to play Hellblade at all?
Yeah, no. I still haven't even touched the first game, so I don't really have much in the way of opinion of it. I mean, from what I've heard great things. So that's third, fourth hand knowledge. So now beyond that, I don't really have much to contribute on that. So I'm not gonna bloat the time. So not yet. Hopefully soon, at some point, one day, eventually. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Well, you know what that means, Crusader. You're up on deck. I know you've spent some time with it, pal. What are your thoughts on Hellblade 2 so far? How far are you into it?
I have beaten, I believe, 2.5 of the missions. I don't actually know how many chapters there are. Someone tell me how many chapters there are.
6.
6? Okay, so I'm 2.5 in. And there's a couple things that I saw some people talking about it online, and I started playing yesterday before I went to a wedding. And number one, I saw some conversations about like Xbox recording time, and I wanted to see how it records time versus how much time I actually spent in it. So I did time it. I kept the timer up. I found that Xbox added like 30 minutes to my time, and that was really weird because I spent like 45 minutes playing, and it said that I had registered an hour and 15. So I'm not really sure what's up with that. It should be a little bit more than that now because I did play today, but it definitely did tack on time that I didn't play yesterday as being played. Not sure if that's a weird like artifact from Quick Resume or something like that. I also noticed I couldn't quite put my finger on why it looked visually weird on console. And something was bugging me the whole time because I was like, this looks fantastic, but something is off. And I found out you can't turn off film grain on console. There's no option to turn it off. And I went online and I'm like, is this film grain? And they're like, yeah, currently there's no option to toggle it off on the console, and if you want to toggle it off, you have to go play it on PC. So I stopped, and I have been installing it on PC today in order to continue playing, because I detest film grain. And I've heard it just looks much better without the film grain for those of us who detest film grain. So I am switching over from playing it on Series X to PC. I have a 3080 Ti in my computer, so I'm gonna be fine playing it. Puzzle-wise, I definitely feel that I've only had one type of puzzle so far, and that has been the line up the runes, just like the first game. And I was kind of shocked that it was easier, because I really liked those puzzles from the first game. I liked them, and I really liked in the first game there was the darkness puzzle where you had to like use the audio and avoid the things in the dark. And because the first game, I adored the traversal and logic puzzles that were in it. And by logic puzzles, I mean the line up the symbol puzzles. And I was shocked that they like color coded the things that you need to line up red. Like, it's not even just that like lining it up on the screen is easier. That's fine. Like, if they want to make the bounds of lining it up easier, but so far all of the puzzles I've done, all of the things that you actually need to line up are like covered red with blood, unlike the rest of the objects around them. And that was just like, why make the puzzle that easy? Like, that's like half the point of the game, right? Is that it's like you're solving these logic puzzles, and now you're like, I could even understand if that was like because they have a lot of settings. There's a lot of settings in the game, right? And I would have been like, oh, if you want like an easy puzzle setting, make them red. That sounds like actually something really cool for the people who just want to kind of get through and they want to enjoy the story and get the visuals. But like, why make the puzzles easier? The combat, I don't think it's worse. Some people are like, it's worse than the first game, and I think it's lateral to the first game. It's not better, it's not worse, because like visually it just looks better. In the first game, it looks terrible. Like, the combat looks terrible. The animations just they're not strong, right? And in the second game, yeah, like visually, like it, like you feel like you're hacking into stuff. You like, there's weight behind every swing. Like, it does look and feel really, really good. I found the parrying to be easier than the first game. Some people say it's harder. I found it to be much easier. I just found the telegraphs for like when you need to parry to be much easier. Maybe the window's smaller, I'm not sure, but like visually, because of how the combat is mocapped, I find it to be much easier to parry. And then once you get the mirror thing, like in the first game, where you can like activate the slowdown time and just hack away at the things, I've just found the combat to be way easier because it's 1v1 and it's just parry a couple times and activate your thing and then hack and slash. Maybe it'll get a little harder as I go. But so far I haven't. It feels like, because that was one of my biggest complaints about the first game, was like, why not just have the combat be a series of quick time if you're going to have it at all? Because again, I thought the first game's strength was the puzzles and kind of the environmental storytelling and stuff like that. And I still feel like that in this game. Like, even though the combat visually looks really incredible, and like the fact that they mocapped the animations for the combat and made it that visceral, it's really good. I still feel like, why does this game have it if this is what the combat is? Story-wise, I had this. There was a fear that I had going into the game, that because it isn't the mysterious, like, we're not being introduced to Senua, And part of what made the first one so good was we were being introduced to Senua. We didn't really know anything about her character, and you're just getting all of this revelatory stuff about her character, and it's like, oh, it's her overcoming basically her mental illness that she doesn't know is a mental illness. She thinks it's a curse. And by the end of the game, you know, she overcomes it, and like that's what makes that story so impactful and what drew you into it. I don't feel thus far that I have been pulled in the same way. Now, I'm only 2.5 chapters in. So I don't want to give a rating on the story by all means, but I have not been drawn in to the story in the same way that I was in the first one. Outside of the lore nodes, the little
Mm-hmm. I know
like lore stones
Yeah,
that you touch, whatever they're called. Those are really, really good. Those were really, really good in the first game, and they're really, really good in this game. But so far, I'm just not gripped by the story, which is a shame because that's like, again, the other half of what this game is. So I kind of understand it falling into about the same feel as the first one had, right? Like the fact that it's scoring about the same as the first one makes sense to me. Visually, it's impressive, but the story just isn't gripping me as much, and I fear that that's going to be the whole way through. So I kind of understand the general the general, not fringe, but general reception to it. But again, I've only played like an hour and a half, so we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. However, I was playing it a bit today and was just like, I wanna go play something a little bit more like of a video game. And so I went. Yeah, and Grimes says the voice acting is really good. The voice acting is insane. Everything
Yes.
about the audio in the game is insane. The visuals, and I'm not a person who likes. I've talked about this a lot on this show. I don't really care for high, highly detailed real life visuals, and they even blew me away in this. You know, I am far more of a stylized gamer. I've said that a lot. I think Hi-Fi Rush, I think Ori, I think Ratchet and Clank, like those are some of the best looking video games I've ever seen because they are highly stylized and someone had to imagine those visuals completely, right? They're not based on something in the world. But this is the first game that I've looked at and went, wow, this looks real, right? It's the first game I've looked at and I didn't see an uncanny valley of, like, how do I explain this? I didn't see the uncanny valley of realism where, like, you can see that they were going for something that was really real looking, except for right over there where it looks totally fake, right? In this, I have yet to see something where I look at it and be like, this is totally fake, except for, like, the things that are, like, mythology /
right.
her nightmares. Does that make sense? Like, it looks so good.
But even, like, I had some gameplay a couple of minutes ago just pan around to, like, the water and, like, the mist coming off the water and the rocks and the lighting. I was just like, wow, this is, like, you know, this is amazing. Like, their art direction. Again, I'm more of, like, an art direction guy like yourself. And I tend to agree with you with the stylized stuff, but like to me this game will age very well just for the fact that like just all the little details that they put into it. Yeah, it's like some of like the landscapes, it's like wow. I just can't believe like the amount of detail that went into them. Wow, like props to them.
Nanite is a wild technology. That's the 3D geometry technology in Unreal. It is like an insane technology. It's super, I don't want to say unoptimized, but it is a resource hog, right? Like the 3D geometry is why the game is not hitting, and why I didn't expect it to hit very far above 30 FPS. Still on the horse that I'd like to have the option to uncap it, but it looks so good. And like I said, they just need to add some options on console to remove chromatic aberration and film grain. I despise film grain. Mass Effect 1, the original version of it, had forced film grain on console, and it was like why I always dreaded replaying Mass Effect 1 when I do my playthroughs until the Legendary Edition came out, was because it had forced film grain. So if they can add an option for to remove that, that would be fantastic.
I would also recommend people play this game with headphones if you got them.
Yes. Yes.
Like I did that with the first one and it was good. This one is on another level. Like not just because of Senua's voices. I mean, they're a big part, but just like even just like the certain like audio cues and like subtle music playing in the background during some combat and just everything. It's like really, really well done, the audio. I can't stress that enough. Like even
especially
just the
if I was gonna say, if you have anything with Dolby, what is the Dolby
Atmos?
The audio called?
Yeah,
anything with Dolby Atmos, and like definitely have it with not mono, whatever the opposite of mono audio is. I guess technically surround. Because like they have it mixed so well, so that like some stuff comes in one ear, some stuff goes in the other.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Again, I give it a lot of a positive check marks when it comes to audio. Yeah, combat wise, I don't mind it. Like again, I'm not quite sure what people were expecting going into this game, but I knew, again, playing the first one, that it wouldn't like stray too far away from the original, but you know, I do feel it's better. Like again, like you said, Crusader, that it's, you know, the motion capture did a lot of good things there with it. I do wish there is a little bit of variety to it, but I do wish that there was a little bit more, I would say. But especially from Senua's angle. But again, it's a very focused narrative game, so I can understand them just focusing on certain things. But yeah, no, what a game, what a game. And again, I've seen people talk about game length when it comes to this title. Again, I've been looking for. Again, I'm getting towards the end. I'm about 75% of the way through. I would say I probably racked in about 5 hours, and I've gotten most of the collectibles. I missed a couple, but like game length, again, I don't see it really being a problem. I'll probably be around what general MLD's time is, around 7-8 hours, and that's fine for me. That's fine for me, because we have so many bloated games now that I think this game is just very welcome, in my opinion, that you can just focus on. You can get through it in a couple hours here, a couple hours here, go through it in a week. You know, it's not like a month-long title. It's not one that you pick up and then, you know, you put on your back burner for a while. You're actually able to finish this game and enjoy it. So I can appreciate titles like this, but I'm not quite sure. I saw some interesting conversations online when it came to the length of this game, and I'm like, well, does that really matter so much? I don't know. Just interesting.
I think the only thing that you could say about the length would be that how long it took to make the game versus how long of a game we got.
Yes.
Like that kind of exemplifies how like absolutely cooked the industry is with how long it takes them to produce anything and release it.
Oh yes.
Just in general,
yes.
it's just kind of like the new exemplary thing about like to show that off, if that makes sense. Like even if we put development started after the trailer that they showed off in 2019, that's still like 4.5 years of development.
Keep in mind, with the pandemic, they couldn't go to Iceland for a lot of the time.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong with that. You're not wrong with that.
Yeah, people tend to forget that aspect.
I think that would be the one thing that I'm critical of the length, was like, you know, it's been 4 years since Ninja Theory's last game with Bleeding Edge, and I don't know. It's just like the length for like the amount of time it took to develop is actually kind of wild. Like, I get it. It's a technical it's like a technical visual audio marvel. And like that's what took the time. It's just that kind of makes me scared for the future of games in general. Not Ninja Theory in particular, just like the AAA industry in general. Like, this is not going to like, if we keep increasing time to develop games and they get conversely shorter with that development time, that's kind of not great.
Yeah, and Project Mara too, we haven't heard a lot about since it got announced. Wasn't it in like 2020 as well that it got announced? Something like that. It was announced during, you know, that how we had like 2 Xbox showcases that one pandemic summer? Yes.
Whichever summer that was, with it, whether it was 2020 or 2021, it was that summer.
Wait, what game?
Project
Mara.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was either 2020 or 2021. I can't keep
21.
those.
That was 21.
Yeah, the pandemic summers are the same summer, and you can't convince me otherwise. That time, all of that time is just blended.
But I mean, it's been taking a little while for that one too. So, I mean,
did you see that? Did you see the stuff about the achievements in it?
No.
What about it?
The achievements in it are color coded: bronze, silver, and gold. Like the achievement icons.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh?
People
what do you
think
that
they were
means?
working early.
What was that?
They're color matched to PlayStation trophies.
Oh.
I
don't think they have a patent on bronze, silver, and gold.
They're either Xbox is doing something with its achievement systems finally this year that's going to emulate the bronze, silver, and gold trophies on PlayStation, or conversely, they just put the effort in for the art now.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That'll show up on PlayStation for the corresponding trophies. It's
Well,
one or the other, or both. It actually could be both. But yeah, that was something I saw. Macca's guides was like, well, this is very interesting. That they are already color coded.
Interesting. Well, I mean, again, that gets into the wider topic of will this game make its way to PlayStation?
Yes.
Which, I don't know, I feel like wouldn't be the worst thing to happen. I don't know, because it is just it's a AA game at end of day, right? People would be more upset if it was the Halo, Gears, Forza kind of stuff, in my opinion. I don't know. I just feel like the community is slowly getting used to the idea. We may not like it, but we're just kind of accepting it. But I still feel like the 4 games that went over so far, they're games we can kind of live with it. But it'll be another firestorm altogether once Halo, Gears, or Forza make their way. If that happens, or when that happens.
Maybe.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah.
I guarantee that's a when. I just would be furious if they do it very soon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, too much too soon would. Yeah.
That's been my whole thing about them going multi-platform, is it's too much too soon. Not that it's a bad thing to happen. Like, I genuinely don't believe it's a bad thing in general. I just think that they are moving far too quickly.
Well, it's their messaging because, you know.
Yep.
And
Yep.
where the expectations lie, right? So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'll have to check the actual achievements themselves to see what you mean. That is interesting, though. I haven't actually.
Yeah,
looked
the
at them.
icons are bronze, silver, and gold. If you look at the if you look at them.
All right, I'll have to check that out. Chat says that's wrong. Jess Corden said Ninja Theory focused in one platform only. To be honest, I haven't seen that.
Well,
But
for launch, I believe that. Yes.
Also, doesn't mean that Ninja Theory will be the ones porting it. Like, we act like Microsoft can't outsource. In fact, I would prefer if they outsourced the porting of the games. That would be so much better.
Mm-hmm. And let the actual studios work on
Xbox stuff.
Yeah.
As they should. Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, guys, like, I like the game so far. I went into it with, again, similar expectations as the original Hellblade, and I don't know. I'm quite happy with the title. I wish that, you know, I have my own gripes with certain things, but like, it's still, I want to be able to finish the game before, like, I'm able to grade it myself. But again, the game, I am enjoying it very much. I am enjoying it very much, and I would recommend it to people. Is there anything else you guys would like to say regarding Hellblade 2, or what? All right, we'll move on. But again, guys in the chat, let me know how you've been enjoying Hellblade 2. Have you checked it out? Did you stop playing it early, or is it, you know, not quite your game, or have you just been absolutely loving it? Gonna recommend it to people? Let me know in the chat. That would be great. And also, guys, share with the show and, you know, give us a like. That would help us out a lot. I want to see more eyes and ears and voices in the chat. Always great seeing that. Okay, guys, gentlemen, moving into some other bits of news then. I'm not going to delay. And with the Xbox showcase around the imminent corner, we're starting to get some interesting rumors and leaks. One of the bigger ones being that we'll be getting a new Doom game announced soon. And there's an expectation of it even releasing possibly later this year. Damn, like, I mean, I do really like the idea of seeing a new Doom game. I love the 2016 game, and Eternal, damn, absolutely blew me away. Now, Crusader, my Reddit sleuth friend, you know, you're pretty clued into the rumor mills, as you know, we all know. What do you think the likelihood of us is seeing a new Doom game this June?
Absolutely guaranteed at this point. Like, beyond it, if Tom Warren or Jez... Well, all right, so Tom Warren didn't actually write an article about it. If Jez Corden's writing an article about it on Windows Central, it means he has definitive proof in front of him. Right? If he's talking about it on his podcast, that's one thing. But when he writes an article, it means he has heard it from a source that is a source that works on, like, at a company, right? Or he has documentation in front of him that says something along the lines, right? And he wasn't the first one to tease it. I believe Tom Warren at The Verge was the first one to tease it a few weeks ago. He teased, you know, he said that, like, maybe it'll lift some of the Doom, and Doom was in all caps, around Xbox. But I don't know if a few titles releasing this holiday will quite do the trick. And so Tom is the only one that, to my knowledge, that has teased it potentially for this holiday. I do not believe anyone else has teased it, and that may have been people reaching too far into his tease, because he definitely teased Doom, but that may have just been people reaching a little too far into his tease. Multiple people have come out and said that, you know, I don't. Are we how much about Doom are we gonna the new Doom are we gonna talk about here? Do we want to talk about the title? Do we want to leave that a mystery? Are we talking about the theme of the game? How far into spoiler zone do we want to go here?
I don't think those are spoilers in themselves.
Well, you know, some people want the showcase to be as, like, secretive as it can be, and I'm just kind of like, it's marketing.
Okay,
it is genuinely marketing.
Well, I guess we can go into theme, because that doesn't really spoil anything, right? It's not like we're showing anything.
Should I say the title?
Yeah, sure,
we
whatever.
already spoiled that there's a Doom game rumored to be announced.
It's Doom. It's titled Doom: The Dark Ages, and it's supposed to be medieval themed. Hopefully, anyone in chat who didn't want to be spoiled left before I said. But, you know, we gave you like 20 seconds of debate there. But it's Doom: The Dark Ages, and it's supposedly medieval themed, which would fit the hiring that we all thought was for a Quake style game. but it's actually going to be a Doom. It seems to be some kind of prequel. It was originally the work in progress title was 0 Year.
That's correct.
Which was what was leaked at the FTC trial. You know, all those court case documents that Microsoft accidentally leaked. So that was the work in progress title that is now that we now know as Doom: The Dark Ages. It does seem that it will be a fully multi-platform launch, not timed exclusivity, nothing like that. It does seem like it's going to be fully multi-platform. We have multiple people saying it will be. Jez with his whole chest is saying it will be.
That's interesting. That is very interesting.
Yes. And a lot of people are okay with this, and I'm just kind of like, man, you know, I would have understand if they'd had this be a timed exclusive. This would have made a lot of sense to put on Xbox first and everywhere else later. And people are like, but they don't want to take stuff away because it's a franchise that's been out for forever. And I'm like, what are you actually taking away? How can you take something away that hasn't been released? They're not taking away Doom Eternal. They're not taking away Doom 2016 or Doom 3 or the remakes of the older Doom games. Like you're not taking something away. You're just not releasing the newest one somewhere. Like I don't agree with that line of thought. Like I also don't think that PlayStation took away the Final Fantasy games from Xbox. They just paid for them to not release there. If they paid Square Enix to delist games on the Xbox store, I would believe that they took something away. You could get me to agree that they took away Stellar Blade, considering it was announced for Xbox. That I would agree there. But you know, I look at this and it's like Microsoft is not using its tools even under its new banner of porting stuff later to other platforms, and it really doesn't align with what they told us in February with their multi-platform approach. Now, they did say case by case with the Bethesda stuff the whole time, but it's kind of wild that in the entirety of like Bethesda existing under Microsoft for now 3 years, that there have been 3 games released. Only 2 remain as exclusives. One was ported to other platforms.
So my question is it going to be
one
new
had their
IPs?
Studio shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, okay, well, you know, cool. You're really not leveraging what you bought to push your stuff well. It sounds really cool. I will, as an FPS gamer, I will be playing it day one. We'll be like, yeah. It does seem like they're going for a little bit of a slower hack and slash approach based on what people are talking about, but like I'm kind of all there for anything Doom releases. I loved Eternal. I played it on I didn't play it on the hardest difficulty. I played it on the second highest. Loved the Marauder fights. Everyone hates the Marauders. I fucking love them. Give me more of that crap. I'm wondering if between this and Call of Duty, if they are actually I'm wondering how far they go. Like at their showcase, do they just like will this be the first Xbox showcase with PlayStation in the potentially this? I'm really interested to see this showcase because I think it's going to be the best showcase Xbox has ever had by a lot, based on what we can almost assuredly say is going to be there because it's launching in 2024, like Call of Duty, Avowed, Indiana Jones, Age of Mythology, Flight Sim 24, Towerborn, Aura.
Do you think Contraband makes it?
I don't know. Contraband was one that someone brought up. I'm like, I have no idea. We haven't heard anything about that game. I have no idea when it's going to release. But like Diablo 4's expansion, Vessel of Hatred. Like there's a lot that's supposed to launch this year.
Yeah.
Right? And when you take just that stuff, and then you throw in things like Gears 6 potentially being there, this Doom game almost certainly, but not confirmed, but almost certainly being there. Things like Perfect Dark, which may be there, right? Things like Fable or What's the one from Compulsion? South of Midnight.
Yeah.
Or like you said, Contraband. When you take even like a portion of those and you put it all together, you're going to have what is almost certainly Xbox's best showcase they've ever had. Potentially one of the best industry showcases you ever had. You'd almost expect as much with the amount of studios and well, I guess technically like 5 publishers they bought. But you'd almost expect that, right? That like they'd have like one of the greatest showcases of all time. And it really looks like it's shaping up to be one of their greatest showcases of all time. And it's going to be surrounded by a conversation of what game is launching where. And that's where I'm almost like, I think they may just straight up put what platforms everything is launching in, even if they don't own them, right? Like, I think you might see Steam logo. I think you might see Epic Games Store logo. You might see the PlayStation logo. You might see the Nintendo Switch logo. And they're going to be very clear about things. I would actually, because of the approach they are taking, where they themselves are putting games everywhere, would prefer it. As silly as it would be to see a PlayStation logo at an Xbox conference, would prefer that if Doom's announced here, and it is going to be multi-platform and everywhere, please just announce it. Like, that would be the best for everyone, right? There would be no confusion, but you're going to have those articles written either way, right? People are going to, like, is this game coming to PlayStation? Is this game coming to Nintendo? And, like, there's people who genuinely have those systems who are going to be asking those questions, who are going to be searching those questions, especially now that Microsoft is offering them to them, kind of, sort of, very wishy-washy. I'm very, very, very excited for a new Doom game, but, like, it kind of reinforces that even though this is going to almost certainly be Xbox's best showcase on the planet, it is going to be surrounded by conversations that Microsoft itself is causing to happen. And, man, if there's other stuff announced for PlayStation here, and it happens to be something like a Gears of War collection coming to all systems or some shit like that, man, are people going to lose their minds. And it's going to suck because it's going to be one of the best showcases like the industry has ever seen, with the amount of shit that's going to be on it.
Yeah, that's like, going to be very telling.
Like you look at the list of things. I have a great list of things that I'd love to see there that I'm almost positive are going to be there based on release date and that have been rumored by the industry to be there, right? And like, you look at that list and you're like, man, if even half of this shows up, holy shit, are we in for some awesome games? And that's one thing that even as frustrated as I am with like the closure of Tango and stuff, man, are they going to be delivering a ton of awesome games over the next like 3 years, right? That we know of, right? And Doom is just in that pile of holy crap, so many cool things coming. And like, I don't even think that questioning where the games are going to be is actually even hating on Xbox. I don't think it can be at this point. Like, Microsoft's too far gone the porting games to other places that normies are going to start asking the questions, is this going to show up on my Switch? Is this going to show up on my PlayStation? Right? That people out of the sphere who don't care two shits about the console that they're playing on are going to be asking these questions, right? And I can't blame them, right? Like, I have friends who only have a PlayStation, but they only have a PlayStation because that's where their library is. They don't give a shit about any console war or anything like that. But they're gonna go like, holy crap, is this Fable game gonna be on my PlayStation? And they're right to ask that question at this point, right? 2 years ago, I would have been like, get an Xbox. But now I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not gonna tell you to buy a console that you may not need versus what you own already. And I think that's a little bit of a problem for that Microsoft really has to come up with an answer for, right? There's plenty of ways to sell hardware without exclusive software. I mean, we see it in like PCs. Nvidia and AMD sell their graphics cards to people without exclusive games for them. They have exclusive, features that the hardware has. And I really think that sooner rather than later, Microsoft's really going to need to be pushing that this is the kind of quote unquote replacement for games, or it'll be too late for their system, and I think that it's definitely too late for them to go back on their plans to port stuff now. The mindset's already there that people are questioning it, questioning when's this coming, not if it's coming. And yeah, like I think Doom's just gonna kind of kind of push that further, because if it was being teased for this year, you know, if Tom Warren, if that was what he meant to be teasing it for this year, and it is fully multi-platform, then they're accelerating the timetable that they need to answer hardware stuff. Well, not even supposedly. According to Microsoft, they have some cool new things to announce hardware-wise later this year. They said that to us in February at the what do they call it? The business update?
Yeah, with the Sarah Bond thing, yeah.
So I'm really hoping it's more than just a new controller. I'm hoping it is something impactful. And something like if it is like the all-digital Series X, that they come in and be like, yeah, but you can use a USB disk drive on it because we really care about your physical stuff all the way in the future. And you don't need to worry about your physical stuff going away. Like they really need to get on the hardcore get on the boat of like, this is why our hardware is important, separate from our software. I really want to see that this year. Is if they are going multi-platform with Doom, then they really need to start hammering why you want our hardware. Does that make sense? Right? There are answers. There are ways they can sell the hardware without exclusive games. Like I said, in the PC industry, that you have to do that. And in the console industry, they can do that. They just need to do it, right? And I think that was one of the mistakes about them going too fast with this, with porting games to other systems. They didn't have the foundation in place where like, this is why you want our hardware. It's why I want to see the backwards compatibility program come back. Even if it's just a handful of games that they could relicense now that they couldn't do then. Like they really need to push this is why you want our hardware. And I'm just concerned that we're going to get to a point where not enough people are going to want the Xbox hardware for them to want to make it. Because a year ago we were talking about how great Tango was, and now a year later they're closed. I'm concerned that they're talking about how much they want to invest in hardware, and 2 years from now it's not going to be worth it for them because of their other actions. That's been my fear the whole time. And so I really don't want to see something like a bunch of games going multi-platform push away the great hardware that they have, that they can make reasons to sell. I hope they go a little slower, and I don't think they're gonna.
That said, though, the majority of Game Pass subscribers are on Xbox consoles. That would just go poof. If they
Correct.
stopped making
That's the huge. Well, so here's the thing: is Game Pass enough to keep people by itself on the consoles? Right?
No.
Is Game Pass enough? And it really wasn't enough with exclusives to do much more than the Xbox One was doing. Right, and so that's what makes my fear is that even though that's what they have on the consoles, these moves are they're moving in opposite directions, and they're friction against each other. And so even though the majority of their people are on console, are they going to be able to retain those people long term? Enough of them, and that's where it's like, yeah, like you're looking at it and you're like, duh, they need to retain those people. And I'm like, are these contrarian moves going to allow that? And that's the whole. I don't know, because if we're 2 years in the future and people are, and they're not seeing enough growth in the consoles, and they're seeing people churn out of their ecosystem, that's the problem, right? And that's something we won't know for 2 or 3 years. We won't know we won't know the impacts of them going multi-platform until basically the next generation, right? It's not something we're going to know overnight. That's why, like, Xbox is not dead right now, but I don't know where they'll be in 5 years. I don't know where the hardware will be in 5 years. It's impossible to predict because they're making moves that are opposite of each other, but will they impact each other, or like, is there enough space in between them that there's no friction when they rub against, like they physically can't rub against each other? Does that make sense? Like we just don't know.
If they make some moves that are rumored, like the two, which is one is Doom, and then the first game from id, right?
Yeah.
And then potentially the other one that's floating around is Gears Collection.
The Gears collection. Yep.
If both of those happen, it's gone over. I wouldn't say overnight. It's gone within a very, very, very short period of time.
Yep.
They literally just 4 months ago were like, we're just releasing like these more, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, this title. It's like literally from a almost beginning of a generation. Like, I get it, because Mass Effect 1 went to the PS3 at the very end of that 360 gen, even though Microsoft published it. Like, it's been
EA
such a long period. But they're as far as who like published the game, because EA wasn't a part of the deal when they first made the first game. But still, like, it'd been such a long period of time, and when that game released, it did not move the needle whatsoever in the like console space. So it wasn't like, oh, this Gears of War 1, the one that's literally has so much identity where people even got into Xbox, kind of like with Halo. It was another game like that. If Gears of War Collection also goes out there with the announcement of this Doom game going multiplat, it's just gone, because it's completely counter of like what they were just saying. Like, don't see this as a signal. I'm going to see that as a signal if you literally you might as well just put Halo Master Chief Collection with it. Just bundle that all together. You might as well. And you have a big exclusive that could have been, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you go out of your way to stop a licensed game, which you could easily just like let go to PlayStation as well with Indiana Jones? Totally makes sense. It's not your IP. And it was a deal literally done before you owned ZeniMax. You go out of your way, but yeah.
I think the problem, the way you're looking at it is, you're looking at decisions made at different times and thinking they were made under the same light, right? They shifted when they bought them. There was definitely full plan ahead to make almost everything exclusive, and that's why they renegotiated the deal. You can actually tell. Like, if you go back and you listen to interviews last year, you can tell around the June-July period was when they started shifting in how they were talking and how they were thinking. I don't think that if it was up to them last year, they would have renegotiated the Indiana Jones stuff. I genuinely don't. I think it was already done, so they're just going to live with it for now.
Yeah, because I get when Satya was like, the Activision deal lets us do all this other stuff, which I get, because why would you need the Activision deal to make multiplats? You wouldn't. Like, you already have Bethesda. They already have a third-party publisher. There you go. They made some of the biggest releases ever. So that's why I always saw Activision games, more of those titles, kind of more likely to be multiplat if like they released like new IP from Activision ever. But also what it doesn't make any sense is, sure, let's get a few more sales for Doom on PlayStation. Cool. Also doing that, who's going to spend money in your store? Game Pass is not a deal at all if I know all your games are going to PlayStation.
Right, because you need to buy the hardware plus the software, or plus the sub for the year.
The better deal up front is I don't have to fork over $500 for PlayStation and my Xbox. I can just save the $500 up front, because that's at the end of the day what it is. It's hard to buy. This game is $70. Man, I don't got it this week. Cool, you don't need to. It's the same thing with a $500 console. The savings in my mind is like, oh, cool, I can get that when I need to. And better yet, what I do a lot of times lately, if I feel like I just don't want to spend all the money at once, most of your banking apps, PayPal apps, let you just pay in 4 payments over like a month and a half. So you buy a $70 game, you spend $12 every couple of weeks. Like, you don't even notice it. Like, if you really were strapped for cash, that's Game Pass right there. Like, so you really, the value proposition is going to go kaput, but I don't understand where they think, like, do they not just see that train wreck coming? Because they get a ton of revenue from people needing to pay to play online from Game Pass. And then all those microtransactions in the store, Fortnite, all those people that just prefer to play on Xbox and like to spend all their money for all Apex, whatever, those are going to disappear. And sure, maybe not 100% of them go, obviously. you might see a significant drop, and I don't think you're making up that revenue from the few exclusives you could have held, in tuck to keep some. Hey, if I'm not a PC gamer and I'm more of a console gamer, I don't mess with PC. I got to get an Xbox for this new Elder Scrolls or, this new Indiana Jones game that looks sick, or the new Wolfenstein or the new Doom. Like you can't, and especially Gears of War collection. If the Gears of War collection goes, that signals to me, no matter if you're holding out, hey, what's the coalition working on? Probably Gear 6. I can't even count that as an exclusive now. Why would I? You're giving them the whole collection to get them ready for Gear 6, right? I'm sure Gears 4 and 5 will be right behind the collection.
I mean,
who knows? It might even be in the collection. Like, we don't know.
I mean, it's possible.
I'm just saying, if they do, if you think what you've seen on Twitter in these past few months was like the mass exodus, like you've already seen some of the biggest people, completely just, people from our own podcast. I'm like, you like, so people, it has struck a chord with people. So if you see that happen, it's just going to be a bloodbath. But
I also don't believe. I'm going to say this now. I don't believe there is a Gears collection. And now that I've said it, it will be announced finally for in the third year of rumors of a Gears collection. I don't believe it exists. But yeah, like there has to be a line somewhere for now. Otherwise, it's just everything's going to go over there. And like, even to a casual, if you're like the guy at GameStop trying to sell something, why would you, in good conscience, sell them the system that has less games to play on it, when you could just sell them the system that has, like, why would you sell them the system that has Halo when you could sell them the system that has Halo and Spider-Man? Like, it boggles my mind, like, because like that's the end game if they move too quickly. That's the fear. And even if Doom was always considered to be one of those case-by-case games that was always going to be multi-platform, I do not believe that. But even if it was, it still, in the context of everything else, sends a message. Right? Even if like it was always intended to be multi-platform, in the context of like the 4 games that got ported earlier this year and anything else that goes outside of Call of Duty, which they had the rigorous court battle over, and were, for all intents purposes, I mean, granted, the money made from it would have been tremendous to lose, and they never would have, but they are contractually obligated to put that other places.
Mm-hmm.
You paint a message, and that message is not good for trying to sell your hardware, as you have not successfully untangled selling it. It's going to be a very interesting showcase with Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive, even though Phil Spencer almost flat out said it in 2022. If you think in 2024 that John's still going to be exclusive, you have another thing coming. Because if Doom is a big enough previously multi-platform franchise to be put everything day one, Elder Scrolls is certainly, and Fallout are certainly going everywhere.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's not certain anymore. You're right.
There's no way that unless there's a catastrophic failure and they pull back because they're like, oh crap, we have killed the ability to sell our consoles and we need to hit the Elder Scrolls' exclusive button. But at this point, especially after like the way that they were talking in the FTC trial, where like Phil Spencer walked back, I don't think I've ever said that was exclusive, because I did go back and look at the transcripts, and he walks back saying that it was he ever said it was exclusive, and then he goes on about, well, it's case by case, and gives a whole lot of non-answers. And like, if you think that, even though they practically said it in 2022 that Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be exclusive, do not believe it now. Definitely do not believe it now.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, because you do bring up some really good points. I'll wait. I want to wait until this upcoming event, showcase, whatever you want to call it, and see how they word things, just to get like a better grasp about how they're presenting their message forward for like the next couple of months, year end, because I do think it'll be very telling what they say. Any other thoughts there, Crusader?
Nah, I'm done.
All right. Let's see here. General MLD, why don't we get your thoughts on this? Again, we had Crusader and Shockley chime in. Honestly, like, again, we got these Doom rumors popping off here. I don't know, what do you think? Think we'll be seeing some new Doom in the near future?
Oh, I certainly think so. I mean, I also think this will be Xbox's best showcase ever, frankly. This is the first time they're going to have Bethesda and ABK standing alongside them. So, like, what? Two publishers along with Xbox Game Studios all at once. That sounds insane. Too good to be true. And in that regard, it is, because we kind of know that Xbox is going to be sharing a lot of their games with PlayStation. So that would diminish some of the hype. As great as a lot of these games reveals would be, some Xbox fans may not feel like they could really brag about them, or get behind them, because end of the day, the other guys will be playing them too. So it's like, if only Xbox waited just a little bit longer to get ABK settled in and stick with their strategy from before, from say a couple of years ago. But here we are. So, but I'm still excited for the showcase as an Xbox gamer, as an Xbox fan. So, well, I guess we'll see how they word things, as you guys mentioned before. Now, I do think Doom, the Doom rumors are pretty credible, the setting and whatnot, because it wasn't that the ABK leak. Or was like Doom Year 1 or some, that was like the code name. So
0 year.
Yeah, this title makes more sense. It's catchier. But based on that, people are speculating. I mean, there's leaks and rumors everywhere galore now. It's hard to keep track of everything, but off the top of my head, people keep saying that the Fallout 3 remaster will show its head because of the Fallout TV show, capitalize on that. The Gears collection, I'm hopeful they'll do it, because I had a great time with MCC, just all these legacy titles in one place, especially if this will benefit the PC market that didn't get access to those 360 era games like Gears 2. I do believe we will see Gear 6. It's been 5 years now. I do feel like we'll see a in-engine trailer, and it's going to blow us away. People are saying that Forza Horizon is due because they're on a 3-year cycle, and this will be the 3rd year of, from the last Forza Horizon. People are saying it might be in Japan. So the rumors are going crazy right now. But I said before here, if the Gears collection or Gears 6 is announced and it confirms it's going to PlayStation, that will make people upset. Because I said earlier in the podcast, games like Pentiment or Grounded, even Sea of Thieves going over to PlayStation, that's something that people would be upset about on principle, but ultimately we can live with it. If we saw Halo, Gears, or Forza, like the OG Xbox Trinity, go over to PlayStation, then nothing is truly safe. And the Xbox brand is truly kind of, well, it's not unique anymore, because the core franchises over the decades, it's now available to the other side. And that would shatter a lot of people. Because I do feel like there is a difference between certain IPs over the true legacy, long-standing IPs that are synonymous with Xbox. So that would also apply to Halo. I don't know if we're going to see Halo, though, but we might. Like the Certain Infinity kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but maybe we might see something about Halo sooner rather than later, because I'm plugged into the rumors on that too, and 343 is cooking something up, but we'll see. I mean, the show's only an hour and a half. There's only so much they can show in that time frame. But I do think pre-ABK, this Doom would have been exclusive. I firmly believe that. But since the layoffs happened and the studio closures happened, I firmly believe Xbox is no longer at the wheel. It's now Microsoft, and it's Satya's orders basically going down. They want to maximize their revenue streams. Satya says himself he never believed in exclusives, and I feel like Doom is just another example of his new initiative doing that. And guys like Phil Spencer, he has to obey, I think. Now, I'm sure the game will be great. We'll get excited about it. But again, hype will be diminished somewhat because we kind of already heard it's going to go multi-plat. But I am looking forward to release dates for Towerborn, Flight Sim, Avowed, Indiana, which will have game previews shortly after. Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Exactly. Yep. So
those are going to be good. I'm actually honestly more excited for the Avowed previews the day after the showcase than I am about the showcase, which says a lot because I'm excited about the showcase.
Right. Yeah, because Obsidian's pretty good. We all like Obsidian.
Yeah.
And so the gaming media, they're gonna have access to these builds, and I'm hoping we'll get some pretty positive previews because we've heard about Avowed now. We saw Avowed last year, and they got the feedback, and they've had all this time to keep cooking and address feedback. So I do think Avowed will be all the better for it as well, because and also I do think it will be graphically better as well because we only saw what was described as alpha gameplay last year. So the final product could be a lot better looking as well. So I'm looking forward to Avowed. That might be my favorite first-party game this holiday.
Did you see the Avowed stuff from Jez yesterday?
Well, what was that?
Supposedly they've moved it to Unreal 5.3.
Fantastic.
There's some cooler visual things in 5.3 than 5.0. But supposedly they've moved it to that with the help of the new Unreal team that's internal to Xbox that they opened up in the last year.
Well, that's great news. That'll just benefit them even more because they did say visuals was a main gripe from last year's footage. So hey, that's great to hear. And people are saying that they might finally see Banjo-Kazooie come back, and that the ukulele developers, which are ex-Banjo developers, might be contracted to make this game. We'll see. We'll see about that. But I don't know. Based on all this discourse, because about Xbox going multi-platform, my message is that Xbox fans, like the real brand loyal fans, we have to learn to adapt. That know that our brand is here to stay, and one way or another. And on top of that, like whether we like it or not, our future with Xbox will be secured by other gamers that aren't Xbox, PC, mobile, but especially now PlayStation. I do feel like Game Pass is now the true and final console exclusive that Nintendo or Sony will not have. Mostly because the corporation behind them doesn't want Game Pass. But regardless, I feel like that is the only true perk that we can truly claim for ourselves now. Like, we will play games first, like say Indiana Jones. If that goes to PlayStation later, like, we can say we got that game day one and for $18, as opposed to them waiting, say, a year, 2 years, and have to pay $70, despite it being X amount of years old, They're paying full price to fund our gaming. Now, that's kind of how I see it now. It's like they're donating their money so we can play essentially on their dime. Like how I'm playing Persona 3 day one on Game Pass, a $70 game everywhere else, but I got it for $18. In a way, I do feel like they are funding my deal right now. And that's where I'm kind of pivoting away from before, where we bragged about our exclusives like everybody else does, like every other console warrior gen in the past. This is kind of what we have to pivot to, I feel like, whether we like it or not. And even if multiplat, Xbox can still do things to benefit themselves, like directly, because ultimately they do take more of a cut if people spend on their platform, and that does mean something. So, like say Call of Duty, do feel like when Sony had the Call of Duty rights, all marketing was plastered PlayStation logos and nothing else. Now that will be Xbox. All Call of Duty marketing should probably have Xbox logos attached to them, and even console bundles. Even though the majority will still sell on PlayStation, there will be people that buy into the marketing and start to reassociate Call of Duty with Xbox. And the same thing can apply to Doom, because Doom is Xbox property. So if you just plaster it with Xbox logos, even though you'll make money somewhere else, some people will make the mental connection, and some might just start playing it with Xbox again. Again, even just to take advantage of the Game Pass deal, because you're playing it for a third or a fourth of the cost of everyone else. So that said, overall, I don't think Xbox consoles need to sell Nintendo or PlayStation numbers to be called a success. Like say the Series X, Series S generation, like this generation, if it finishes at say 40 plus million consoles sold, I see that as reasonable enough to warrant another try next generation. Because keep that in mind, this is only a piece of the pie now, piece of the puzzle now. You have Xbox heavily expanded now in PC now, mobile. They're going to get bigger in cloud, and now, again, whether we like it or not, they're expanding heavily into PlayStation itself, and also there's the handheld that they're making as well. So you don't need 100 million Series X consoles to be labeled a success. You just have to be good enough. You just have to be a good piece in the puzzle to warrant being supported again. As long as the Game Pass subscribers on consoles stay subbed, and they give us a reason to stay subbed, there is a reason to make future hardware. So long as they're making their money everywhere else, together, it's sustainable. And that is what we want. So there's more than one way to play an Xbox, but I do feel like the ones that prefer console will ultimately get what we want. Because they're making their money elsewhere too, to justify it. Any shortfalls where we prefer to game. So, I don't know. Overall, I'm excited for the showcase. Multiplat or not, I'm an Xbox fan, and I want to see some good Xbox games.
All right, fair enough, MLD. Dots, buddy. I'm not sure if you've ever played either Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. Obviously, you've heard Crusader. Shockley made some points, and MLD. Again, what do you think about this talk about new Doom game getting shown off soon? Again, we've gotten a few leaks, but there seems to be a lot of key details that seem plausible with these Doom leaks. What do you think about them? Could we be seeing it quite soon?
Yeah, I think that we're in line for another Doom game. I think that they've all been successful. They've all, really hit the mark of a great first person boomer shooter. Music's fantastic. The quote unquote story is good. Where it's more of a story's going around and you're single-mindedly killing demons. But yeah, no, I think that it's very much in line of, it's a good time frame to get a new Doom out there. I think the leaked setting of it is cool. I think it fits into the second game a bit more. I know the second game had a little bit more lore on the background of the Slayer, but I think, more of that kind of stuff in the third iteration, be it a prequel or whatnot, would be really cool. I think a prequel would make the most sense after the ending of the second game. Not gonna go too deep into that, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to what comes out of that. I think that it's a really cool thing. I don't exactly know where to take it on the exclusivity train. I I don't. I'm kind of in the same boat as I don't really mind if Doom hits the other consoles out the gate. I mean, as long as it's not that trifecta we have going on of Gears, Halo, and Forza, then something like Doom can, like, you know, go multi-plat without, I don't think, that much of an issue on my end. Every time I say Doom, I feel like I'm going to say Dune, like the movies, because that's been coming, you know, stuff out of that recently. So, um, but yeah, no, I think we're in a good spot for both a new Doom game, and if it hits multi-plat, it's honestly not the end of the world. Yeah, honestly, I once again, I don't have much to hit on this one. I'm just looking forward to, you know, Doom is one of those guilty pleasure games that, you know, you dive into and you have a lot of fun, and they put in a lot of awesome effort, and, you know, the music's great, the gunplay's fun, fast pace, you know, the absolute amount of gore of it is fantastic, killing demons and zombies and zombie demons and all that stuff. So yeah, no, I got that's all I got on that. I'm looking forward to seeing more at the showcase, hopefully.
All right, fair enough, Dots. Shockley, I know you got in a little bit there with Crusaders. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to the Doom conversation?
No, that's pretty much it. Wanted to definitely see what this new one's about. I've only played a little bit of like the first two, and not probably more so Eternal, but definitely I think when it hit Game Pass or what have you. But I think I was playing so many different things around that time that I never got back to Eternal, but definitely need to, because that was definitely a blast for like hour or so that I was playing with it. Is pretty cool. Just this whole don't stop, just keep. So that whole adrenaline that you run when you play it, that you get from it, is pretty unique. But yeah, hopefully, and if it does get announced, I think they'll be okay. Maybe if that's the only one outside of like the obvious ones that get announced, of like, hey, this is also coming to PlayStation. It would, like, it's gonna suck. But if there's that and like Gears Collection, then it's a wrap. Because even if it's the best show ever, like Crusader, you know, and I think as well, because of the titles like Perfect Dark, possibly, or all these other ones that we think might be there. Even if that all lands, even if Banjo-Kazooie lands or what have you, if you have like that and like a few others, like Gears is coming, like it's just gonna any goodwill from it, just gonna be a wrap. Like it's gonna be even worse to the brand. Just like it's gonna suck, because I don't want to just be on PlayStation. I love Quick Resume, so that's why I buy a lot of my multiplats here. So, but stuff like that, you know, that's why you want to have two consoles in the market to kind of like, oh, that's a cool feature, and then one adds that feature. You've seen Xbox take stuff from PlayStation, vice versa. But I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, hopeful for the new games. It's supposed to be a prequel, so hopefully see some good stuff from it and everything from the show, and hopefully we don't get this. Hopefully this rumor is completely bullshit. Sometimes they turn out to be bullshit, but who knows?
Well,
we'll see.
It'll be very telling sometime soon. So we'll know for sure, I think, in the coming months, if not weeks, with this showcase. But all right, fair enough, guys. Yeah, either way, guys, again, you know, we're just talking about, I mean, there's a whole bunch of rumors going around. I just thought the Doom one had a little more meat on it, especially with the court filings with the whole Activision stuff. So, you know, I'd really be looking forward to a new Doom game for sure, and I'm really looking forward to what the showcase brings. So we shall see on that front. All right, guys in the chat, hey, it's great to have you all here. If you haven't done so already, smash the like button and share with the show. I'd love to have more awesome people here in the chat with us. I see that, you know, again, there's been a very energetic chat going on there. All right, why don't we go on to our last bit of news tonight? And of course, with it being the start of the game publisher showcase season, as we've been hinting about, we need to cover a little show called the Warhammer Skulls event. We had more stuff drop for the upcoming Space Marine 2 game, and some nice little surprise announcements. Now, Dots, why don't you start us off here and fill us all in on what got announced, or what caught your eye during the Skulls event. I know that you're a 40K aficionado, and there was a lot of stuff showing off here. Yeah, please do tell. What did you like?
Yeah, no, this another great day to be a Warhammer fan. So obviously I'm just gonna start big because I know that's what most people want to get into is Space Marine 2. More info on that is awesome. I'm getting more and more hype for it. I'm still staying out of pre-order. I'm still avoiding pre-order, not for any lack of trust in it. Any pre-order bonus is exclusively cosmetic. It's all ultramarine stuff. I really could not give two craps about more ultramarine cosmetics. I want to make my Space Marine look like a different faction of Space Marine. But I feel like we've reached a point. Pre-ordering is very it's not really worth it. Although if I recall though, Invader, I think you got the statue edition, so you're kind of SOL on that front.
Yes.
But no, they showed a little bit more of it. The main factor they were showing was the PvP mode, which is just like in the first game, I believe a 6v6 with a bunch of different game modes for it. Obviously, being able to play as Chaos Space Marines when you're fighting as the opposite 6-stack. So yeah, no, I think that's gonna be huge. Getting back into that third-person shooter multiplayer. Obviously, the closest thing I can think of that we have to that is Gears. So that's gonna be awesome. And then they also really dug into the fact that there's gonna not only the campaign has the 3-player co-op, we already knew about that, but PvE 3-player PvE operations. And the closest thing I can pull that with is Spartan Ops from Halo 4. So special missions for special co-op missions that kind of tie into the story through a different perspective, just based on the little bit in the trailer. They were showing Captain Titus or Lieutenant Titus, he got demoted, talking and saying, hey, we need like 2 squads to go down deal with this, and the guy's like, oh, I can give you 3 Space Marines and that's it. And we saw the main story is going to be about Lieutenant Titus and his 2 dudes fighting off Tyranids. But we saw that in the operations they're going to be fighting Tyranids. They're going to be fighting more Chaos Space Marines. They're really hitting down at the 1000 Suns, which is a Chaos Space Marine faction. Is going to be really prevalent. So that's really cool because they don't get that much limelight normally. So there's a lot of cool stuff going there, and I'm hyped because I love, I'm a co-op gamer, and so more things to do PvE wise is gonna be great. And also there was a tweet put out, I think, saying that all the there's gonna be no in-game microtransactions. Everything's gonna be completely in-game earnable. And the only DLC exclusive stuff is going to be cosmetic. So, the pre-order bonus and anything else that you pay extra money for, it's going to be completely cosmetic. In a game like this, I don't see there wasn't really, if it's like the first game, there's not really like that much like weapon variety that, there was any pay to win factor on. It would all just be cosmetic or unlocking guns through leveling up and whatnot. So, out of Space Marine, we have a lot of good vibes coming out of it. No microtransactions, a dedicated, co-op mode outside of the campaign. The multiplayer itself just looks like it's going to be a fun time. 6v6ing. I mean, I know every once in a while, Space Marine 1 has like a massive bump of player count. I'm sure in the days leading up to this game, that's going to be the same. A lot of people are going to be jumping into this. So no, that's Space Marine. They announced the Space Marine VR thing. I'm so on it. I honestly don't really dig deep into VR stuff. I don't have one. I don't really care. Showed us a Ultramarines gaming chair because that's important. Space Marine and Tyranid Xbox controllers because that's important. Then, well, I still have not played it. A DLC for Bolt Gun called Forges of Corruption.
Oh
That's, yeah, I know you're hyped for that. I still have yet to touch the game. I definitely do plan on to eventually. But apparently it will add new levels, enemies, weapons. Which I'm curious what the weapons are, because there's a lot of weapons in that game from what I can recall. Even some like obscure ones that aren't even like normally in the tabletop anymore. So even more weapons past that's going to be really neat. And then a horde mode so awesome for that. A DLC for Rogue Trader. I still have yet to beat my run through of Rogue Trader, but the people who have beaten it have said great things. It's literally, it's not at the, I wouldn't say it's the same scale, but it is pretty much the equivalent of a Warhammer Baldur's Gate. It's very cinematic. Well, it's very story heavy. Lots of voice line dialogue. The combat is very much that turn-based, tile-based, back and forth. And there's there's more content to that. There's a new companion that's a Death Cult assassin. Apparently it's romanceable. I don't know about that. We'll see what happens if you're into that, I guess. So that's great. Some more DLC for Total War Warhammer 3. That's always good on that. I know that game is getting through its life cycle, and it's gonna, I think from what I've heard, it's still got like another year or two potentially of DLC coming for it. Most likely after that, I've heard some rumors of them changing up their game engine, and probably the first test phase of that will be running the rumored Total War Star Wars, and then using that as kind of a demo to lead into potentially Total War Warhammer 40K. Once again, that's a bit more in the rumors and speculation era, but that's kind of a lead up that the Total War series potentially could be heading towards, because I think the trio of Warhammer games has been like on their top dollar, successful game franchise. What else? We got more DLC for Darktide, Secrets of the Machine God, so that's gonna be cool. More DLC for Vermintide 2, which is kind of funny that just Vermintide's still getting all this love and attention, and Darktide's kind of been getting a trickle more than Vermintide, which is just being a full release stuff. So we'll see about that. More content for Blood Bowl 3, not really something I'm into. More stuff into some of their mobile games. Another demo just came out for Speed Freaks, which I played the first demo. I might get. I think the second demo. It's a week, so there's still about 4 or 5 days left on that. I might hop into that. It was fun, and I hope the demo fixed a lot of the issues in the first one. More DLC for their card games, Warp Forge and Horus Heresy Legions. They're like Hearthstone. It's their Hearthstone game, so they got new content for that. They got stuff for World of Tanks, where you can get some Rogel Dorn tanks in World of Tanks, because that makes sense. I think this is like the second time they've done this, so that's kind of cool. I think they had some Space Marine tanks actually, instead of Rogel Dorns. And then for me, and then it's just stuff from Talisman, but I haven't played Talisman ever, so I don't actually know really what the hell that's about. But then the big one for me
I know
is
which
Mechanicus 2, because I actually have not played the first Mechanicus. I've owned it, and now I have an excuse to play it. Because the second one lets you play as the Necrons, and you get to push the Mechanicus guys out of your Tomb World rather than the other way around. And I think that's really cool. So any game that lets me play as the Necrons is a win in my book. But that's a bias. But Mechanicus has received mass praises. Its reviews are always up, always positive, and it's just such a great turn-based strategy game. Once again, I haven't played it, but from my understanding, it's kind of like a much more advanced XCOM. There's some, there's a lot of like strategy and planning with your squad and abilities and whatnot. So being able to do all that, but as the Necrons, is going to be great because I love Necrons. And I think, doing something like, dropping a Catan shard on some human interlopers coming into your bedroom, I think that sounds pretty cool. So I'm really looking forward to that. That obviously doesn't have a release date yet. Only it's coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. So I'm looking forward to that. They have the same composer and story writer from the first game, and both of those, once again, I've heard nothing but good things about. So yeah, no. Big hypes are obviously Space Marine 2 and Mechanicus 2. Space Marine 2 is coming out September 6th, I believe?
9th, I think.
9th? Okay. 6, 9. I mean, you put them together, you know what you get. Yeah, no, it was a good Skulls, and almost everything's on sale. Like, almost everything Warhammer related is on sale on Steam, except for, like, the Battlefleet Gothic games, which makes no sense to me why those aren't on sale, because those are probably some of the best RTS games, like, out there for spaceship combat.
Right.
But no, almost everything else is on sale. I mean, I've currently bought Warhammer 40k Battle Sector. I wanted to try out something different. Gladius, which is like their Civilization style game, is free to my knowledge.
On Epic,
so that's really good if you want to just grab a free game that if you like Civ, I mean it's that's the closest thing you get Warhammer wise. And just a bundle of good things coming out of that. So yeah, no, as you can tell, a lot more talkative on this topic than the last one, so you can see where my excitement lies today. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for stuff. Space Marine 2, I'm really praying that it's going to come out good. And they've showed us nothing but good things. I love the use of the Daisy engine so that we can get a crap ton of Tyranids on the battlefield at the same time. Get that actual swarm mentality that they really give. The co-op, because of the fact that it's co-op campaign, I'm going to be playing that campaign so many times with so many different people. I mean, me and Crusader already have like a bunch of duos of friends that are all probably going to get it, and so we're going to have different squads all doing the campaign at different times and whatnot. And then on top of the operations.
Here's my question for you. Did they announce crossplay?
I do not believe that was made mention, no.
Oh, I gotta keep pestering them online then.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would hope so, but unfortunately, you would think that this would be the time to announce that, but with announcing the multiplayer 6v6 mode, it doesn't say. We are still in the dark of that at the moment. Their director on Twitter might be someone to say about that, because I think it was one of them who said about the 0 microtransactions that wasn't announced during the Skulls thing, that was said like on the sidelines in the back.
Focus Entertainment, the publisher, posted it.
Yeah, so probably pestering them about is it going to be crossplay is the important thing to do. So. Yeah, no, that's the whole showcase given to you by yours truly, and that's my my take on it. I'm looking forward to Space Marine 2,
Mhm.
Mechanicus 2, and everything else is just DLC for games that you either have played or you haven't played. So
Nice. Nice. Very nice. Thank you for that synopsis, Dots. Very in-depth. And yeah, no. I got some hype as well for quite a few of those titles. Let's see. General MLD. I mean, I know you've gotten into the 40K hobby. Any excitement over some of the announcements Dots listed off?
Yeah, at least a couple of games there. Space Marine 2 getting those the multiplayer mode reveal. That looks pretty awesome. I do like the ability to customize my own Space Marine's armor as a Black Templar user. I hope I can do that for myself as well. That it looks like a lot of fun. Like, this game was delayed and it shows. It's gonna be so fun. I can't wait to play it. Mechanicus 2.
I did see, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut in, but I saw someone dressed up as a salamander.
Yeah.
During that, I saw someone with the hood of the Dark Angels, which I thought that was really cool. So, like, it looks like there's going to be a lot of customization options for the different chapters. So you're almost certainly going to get special Black Templar stuff.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. That's all I wanted to hear. I do feel like there's a good chance for that. But Mechanicus 2 is my big standout because I actually beat Mechanicus, but 30-hour game. It does play like Warhammer XCOM, and I'm biased in the opposite direction. I am Team Mechanicus, but it looks like they say it's going to be a dual campaign. So there'll be a Mechanicus campaign and a Necron campaign, and your choices will determine which one wins. Much like in the first game, where your choices determine how Mechanicus wins, because that's the only campaign you get to play. So the first game was a really underrated gem, I find. Like, it was kind of like a AA budget, but they did a lot with it. They really stretched it far. The soundtrack by far was the biggest, one of the biggest things that just blew me away. They really put a lot of effort into the sound design. The lore was great. The attention to detail for the factions were great, and I'm glad it warranted a sequel. So I'm definitely gonna look forward to that when that comes out as well. And sometime next year, I'll play Rogue Trader. Like, that's a really long game, so I want to finish more of my backlog before I commit to a game like that. But it's good that it's getting updates. So by the time I do play Rogue Trader, it's going to be very meaty in terms of content. So, and I think there's a few games on sale I want to try out now. Like, I think there's Necromunda Hired Gun. It plays a lot like Doom, but in Warhammer setting. So I think I might buy that. So overall, yeah, it was a good show. I enjoyed it.
How much is Necromunda going for right now?
I saw it for Canadian $10.
That is a very okay price for that game.
Yes, it is.
That game I described as a game of all time. It is. I think it is perfectly okay. It was fun for what I played for. I think I bought it for like 15, and it's not gonna blow your mind, but it's also like not going to make you mad either. It was just a enjoyable game.
That's what I'm thinking too, because the fact that I know it's like a Doom ripoff, but the fact that it takes place in Warhammer setting, and I think Necromunda is actually one of the most iconic hive cities in the Imperium.
Mhm.
I do feel like that will make up for it as a Warhammer fan myself.
Actually think it's more of a Borderlands or Destiny ripoff than I do Doom. It's not as fast paced as Doom, and it's like almost, it has like looter shooter elements, but they're not fantastic to it. Like, it feels like a game that at one point they thought they were going to try and make a Destiny-like clone, and then they decided not to and pulled out the MTX, but left in like the like strike and like kind of just like the content that would be like the 3-player match-made content. Like, it's really hard to describe, but I like, Doom would not be the game that I would necessarily compare it to in FPS. I would go closer to Borderlands or Destiny, or even, I don't think I'd go as far. Maybe Halo 5 style gameplay.
Fair enough. Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. All right, let's see here. Since we got you here, Crusader, I mean, obviously we've been talking about the Warhammer Skulls event. I know you're not as in-depth into the 40k universe as Dots, but got any interest in some of these games here? Any of these announcements or new gameplay like Space Marine 2, stuff like that?
I will be playing Space Marine 2 for sure. I just don't know where exactly I'm going to play it, because if I'm going to play it with Dots, I'll get it on PC, if it doesn't have crossplay. I'm very excited for that. I was actually really intrigued that for like the third year in a row, this was an event that was co-sponsored with Xbox. Am I correct in saying that? I think it was. I know the last 2 years were. And I know they announced the custom... the Design Labs controller.
That's correct.
Dots mentioned it briefly, but like it's kind of like Fallout, where like for once they're doing the cool custom controller, but you can actually buy it. You don't have to try and win like a raffle that's like 1 in a million chance, which is really cool. I really hope they keep doing more stuff like this, because I have the Starfield controller. I'm considering getting the Fallout one, and I might get the Warhammer one because the Warhammer one looks pretty cool.
Which one, the Tyranid one or the Space Marine one?
The Tyranid one.
Okay, all right.
But
you already have a blue controller with your Garrus one, don't you?
I already have a custom blue Garrus Elite 2. So that's really cool. But it was really cool to see that like that Xbox was partnering directly with them at this event to make the custom controller that anyone can buy. And like there's like a portion of the backwards compatibility nerd in me that's like, come on guys, please fix the licensing conundrum that is the first Space Marine, and get that John listed on the Xbox Series store and make it available, because it was a really good game.
Yes.
Like, if you have an Xbox 360 and you can find a copy of the original Space Marine, you should go play it. It was a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 game. Like, I enjoyed playing it.
It did the job.
And so like it's one of those games that if they put on backwards compatibility, it would just be really enjoyable and fun to have access to. So like, my takeaway from this was they partnered with Xbox at this event to show off a controller. Am I reading into it too much? Probably. Am I going to be disappointed that it's not going to be backwards compatible? Probably. But come on, let the backwards compatibility demon in me live.
If I'm to be honest, I'm surprised that they didn't. Because you're talking about backwards compatibility. Even like, there was a portion of me that thought, we might see a remaster because it's been so long.
Well, they remastered it on PC. Am I correct in saying that? I'm pretty sure I am.
Yes, they did. And if you had the original on PC, it was a free upgrade.
Okay, so like, it would be really cool to see that, and it's just like, come on, make it happen. Because the first game is fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what they've done in the past, I mean, they put Darktide day one on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
And they put Bolt Gun on Game Pass as well. I feel like they're doing a lot of Game Pass deals lately. And that might be coming going forward as well.
See, I don't really know how the Games Workshop games work, because they license Warhammer and stuff to like anyone who will like make it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
They got a lot.
They've reined it in a bit recently, but they still basically, if you're a semi-reputable studio and you want to make a Warhammer game, they'll let you make a Warhammer game. You know what I mean? And that means that like there's a slew of publishers and stuff. So I really don't know how like stuff gets licensed for Game Pass with Games Workshop, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That would be I would love to learn how that stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I wonder, is it Games Workshop that puts it on? Is it the publishers that, or is it like a combination of like Games Workshop's like, hey, we want to be on here because it's good advertising for us and we'll help you get a good deal or something like that, So like it would be, I would love to have some to hear more about like how that stuff happens. But you're right, there is a lot of Warhammer stuff that partners with Xbox. And like this event, I'm pretty sure this was the third year in a row that this event partnered with Xbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. We have seen that the past couple of years. Yeah, very interesting friendship they got there for sure. And Shockley, buddy, I know you're not as heavily invested as some of the other guys in like 40K stuff like that. But was there anything that really caught your eye of interest from the Skulls event?
Yeah, I don't think I've played any of them. I remember I was very fond of all the there's this one store that was in a high-end mall by me in the 90s or late 90s that had all those like really expensive like Space Marine like sets, and there were basically was a whole like tabletop store. It was like this
Oh yeah,
weird high-end like tabletop store too. But I always wanted them, but those sets were like stupid expensive. So but just because they always looked really cool, just the armor and all that stuff. So seeing this one has me intrigued. I watched a little bit of the trailer, and some of the combat looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of obviously not exactly like Gears, but kind of like when you're fighting some of those hordes. Kind of feels like you have that kind of mentality, like brutalness and all that stuff. So that looks pretty cool. I was intrigued with Dark Tide, although I never got around to it and almost forgot that one came and went. So I think because that first got shown off with like back to back with when Stalker 2 got revealed at one of the shows. So yeah, that one looked cool. So I definitely need to still try that one. But yeah, this one looks probably even more up my alley as far as like visually and the style of combat, and yeah, like looking at the co-op part of it. So might need to hit up my friend that's probably big in this, perfect because he's probably big in this kind of would be down for this type of game. So definitely need to give this one a try. But was it coming out in June next month? Is that when it's dropping? Or am I think I was maybe reading the wrong one?
Space Marine 2 is September, I believe.
September. Yeah. Okay, I think I was looking at the DLC, one of them. Yep, for Dark Tide. But yeah, no, it looks pretty cool. But yeah, I've yet to ever play any of the other ones. I think I've seen people watch people play like Vermintide, and but this one is probably they've always looked really cool, but nothing to where I've like dropped some of the other games I've I was playing at the time. But this one definitely just because of the armor, the aesthetic, all that. So definitely looking forward to seeing how this drops. Hopefully, gets good marks, as much as, I don't want to be sucker to like Metacritic scores. And I'll still play stuff that's obviously, even if I play a bunch of PS2 games that didn't, old Shinobi that got, it was too hard back then and, got doxed a lot of points and probably got like 7s, but it's a dope game. But same thing here, like even if it didn't hit super high, but I only got so much time these days that I can only so but all of them, it seems like they've been loved by the fans, so, and that's probably why they are able to keep getting people to license them out and keep making them. So but yeah, definitely give this one a try for sure. So but yeah, that's all I got. Don't got too much expertise in this realm, so same as Dots on the other one.
Well, hey man, we all got our strengths and weaknesses. I know I certainly show mine on JRPGs and a few things, but hey man, we all got our interests, right? And our various respective genres that we prefer, but whatever, right? We all can learn at the same time. Okay guys, I think on that. That about does it for this one. I mean, we got into 3 pretty cool topics and a great chat tonight discussing Hellblade 2. Again, some leaks regarding Doom and the Warhammer Skulls event. Fun stuff. And thank you to all the wonderful people joining us tonight. If you happen to enjoy the past 2 hours or so of fun, then please consider leaving a like, sharing out the show, and of course, subbing to the channel. It's always appreciated, guys. I'll move on to the outros now, and I'll start off with Dots. Dots, good stuff tonight. Where can all these wonderful people find you?
Yeah, no, really was good stuff. You can find me at Dots RTS on both Twitter and on Xbox. And yeah, no, this has been a good Sunday. One of those mostly positive news weekends, so that's great. Hopefully, can keep that train going. But yeah, no, happy to be here. Happy everyone's having a good weekend. Hopefully, everyone has a good Memorial Day for those who go about that. And yeah, no, good stuff.
Of course. Next up, Eric Shockley. Buddy, hey, loved your thoughts and opinions this Sunday night. Where can everybody find you at, pal?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter, EZShock on Xbox Live. But yeah, hopefully we get stays positive news for these next few weeks. So I will say one thing they should also think about if Gears Collection ends up there. Also tread lightly with don't allow the bigger Gears base to just be on PlayStation. So what I mean by that is we better have a forced login to Microsoft account if you want to play multiplayer, and not, hey, the bigger multiplayer online base, like if you want to play
Sea of
matches.
Thieves does that already.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
because that would just
And
be
you
Minecraft
definitely
too.
nail in the
don't need to
coffin.
worry about that. Yeah, Sea of Thieves already does that.
Hey, I can't find matches because there's people have just. That would just be Then I mean, it's already if this game hits, and other games of their history go over. Just it's. I don't see them walking out of this one, especially after having that meeting 3 or 4 months ago, sitting down with us, having us all watch this. Hey, it's false alarm, guys. But obviously, I think those, as we can tell, they were probably blindsided since Sarah was wishing Tango happy more birthdays to come for years to come, a month before they got shut down. But yeah, good show tonight. I'll see you later.
All right, Eric. Next up, General MLD. Hey, great takes from you as well tonight, pal. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, great show. You guys can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter and Gamertag Ghost MLD. So, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, got that right. And who else we got here? The Crusader. Crusader, again, good stuff from you tonight as well. Where can all these people find you at?
You can find me at Crusader3456 on Twitter. Yeah, good show tonight. I'm really excited for the next week because we have in the Destiny community, my name is Bife, who is the lore master of the Destiny community at large, is releasing the complete story of Destiny video. And it's probably going to be 7 or 8 hours long. And we're really excited for it.
All right.
It's gonna be so long.
It's gonna be so long, and I'm so excited to have it on during work.
Hey, man, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, and just to round out everybody, you can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, the forthcoming week, I mean, obviously Crusader has some stuff to look forward to. I'm curious if we'll see some PlayStation news. I know that there's been rumblings about a May showcase for the longest time, and we're getting into the last week of May, so we shall see what the next coming days bring. But yeah, On that note, guys, very in-depth chat tonight, and we look forward to seeing you all here on the next one. Later.